Hello, hello, hello. Am I doing on? Can you listen? Hello. Hmm. Hello. 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 Hello, hello. Hello. Am I doing on? Can you listen? Hello. This is not working. Hello. 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 Hello, hello. Maybe there is a delay. Hello. Am I doing on? Can you listen? Hello. This is not working. Hello. I think it's working now. So I'm going to try to start reading. And you guys let me know. So the first chapter of this book of the power of positive thinking is very important because it's called believe in yourself. And that means you have to believe in yourself to feel better. So it starts like this: believe in yourself. So I think it's working now. So believe in yourself. Have faith in your abilities. Without a human, without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. So if you don't believe you can do it, you will not be able to do it. That's what it means. I think that's strong. So then it goes. But with sound self confidence, you can succeed. A sense of inferiority and inadequacy interferes with the attainment of your hopes. But self confidence leads to self realization and successful achievement. Because of the importance of this mental attitude, this book will help you believe in yourself and release your inner powers. So it's both about you, about believing in yourself, about believing what you can do. It is appealing to realize the number of pathetic people who are hampered and made miserable by the malady popularly called the inferiority complex. But you need not to suffer from this trouble. When proper steps are taken, it can be overcome. You can develop creative faith in yourself, faith that is justified. Sorry, the book disappeared, and I'm going to put you the first page of the chapter. Sorry. After speaking to a convention of businessmen in a city auditorium, I was on the stage greeting people when a man approached me and with a peculiar intensity of manner asked, "May I talk with you about a matter of desperate importance to me?" I asked him to remain until the others had gone. Then we went backstage and sat down. "I'm in this town to handle the most important business deal of my life," he explained. "If I succeed, it means everything well to me. If I fail, I'm done for." I suggested that he relax a little, that nothing was quite that final. If he succeeded, that was fine. If he didn't, well, tomorrow was another day. I suggested I have a terrible disbelief in myself, he said dejectedly. "I have no confidence. I just don't believe I can put it over. I'm very discouraged and depressed. In fact," he lamented, "I'm just about sunk. Here I am, 40 years old. Why is it that all my life I have been tormented by inferiority feelings, by lack of confidence?" Sorry. Self-doubt. I listened to your speech tonight in which you talk about the power of positive thinking, and I want to ask how I can get some faith in myself. There are two steps to take, I replied. First, it is important to discover why you have these feelings of no power. That requires analysis and will take time. We must approach the maladies of your emotional life as a physician probes to find something wrong physically. This cannot be done immediately, certainly not in a brief interview tonight, and it may require treatment to reach a permanent solution. But to pull you through this immediate problem, I shall give you a formula which will work if you use it. As you walk down the street tonight, I suggest that you repeat certain words which I shall give you. Say them over several times after you get into bed. When you awaken tomorrow, repeat them 3 times before arising. On the way to your important appointment, say them 3 times additionally. Do this with an attitude of faith, and you will receive sufficient strength and ability to deal with this problem. Later, if you wish, we can go into an analysis of your basic problem. But whatever we come up with following that study, the formula which I'm now going to give you can be a large factor in the eventual cure. Follow is the affirmation which I gave him. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. He wasn't familiar with these words, so I wrote them on a card and had him read them over 3 times aloud. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Now follow that prescription, and I am sure things will come out all right. He pulled himself up, stood quietly for a moment, then said with considerable feeling, "Okay, doctor, okay." I watched him square his shoulders and walk into the night. He seemed a pathetic figure, and yet the way he carried himself as he disappeared showed that fate was already at work in his mind. Subsequently, he reported that this simple formula did wonders for him and added, "It seemed incredible that a few words from the Bible could do so much for a person." This man later had a study made of the reason for his inferiority attitude. They were cleared away by scientific counseling and by the application of religious faith. He was taught how he had faith, was given certain specific instructions to follow. These are given later in this chapter. Gradually, he attained a strong, steady, reasonable confidence. Let me change the page. He never ceased to express amazement at the way in which things now flow toward rather than away from him. His personality has taken on a positive, not a negative character, so that it no longer repels success, but on the contrary draws it to him. He now has an authentic confidence in his own powers. There are various causes of inferiority feelings, and not a few of them from childhood. An executive consulted me about a young man whom he wished to advance in his company, but he explained, "He cannot be trusted with an important secret information, and I'm sorry if otherwise I would make him my administrative assistant. He has all the other necessary qualifications, but he talks too much, and without meaning to do so, divulges matters of a private and important nature." Upon analysis, I found that he talked too much simply because of an inferiority feeling. To compensate for it, he succumbed to the temptation of parading his knowledge. He associated with men who were rather well-to-do, all of whom had attended college and belonged to a fraternity. But these boys were reared in poverty, had not been a college man or fraternity member. Thus he felt himself inferior to his associates in education and social background. To build himself up with his associates and enhance his self-esteem, his subconscious mind, which always seeks to provide a compensatory mechanism, supply him with a means for raising his ego. He was on the inside in the industry and accompanied its superior to conferences where he met outstanding men or listened to important private conversations. He reported just enough of his inside information to cause his associates to regard him with admiration and envy. This served to elevate his self-esteem and satisfy his desire for recognition. When the employer became aware of the cause of his personality trait, being a kindly and understanding man, he pointed out to the young man the opportunities in business to which his abilities could lead him. He also described how his inferiority feelings caused his unreliability in confidential matters. This self-knowledge, together with a sincere practicing of the techniques of faith and prayer, made him a valuable asset to his company. His willpower was released. I can perhaps illustrate the manner in which many youngsters. Let me change the page. Acquiring inferiority complex through the use of a personal reference. As a small was, I was painfully thin. I had lots of energy. Was on track team, was healthy and hard as nails, but thin. And that bothered me because I didn't want to be thin. I wanted to be fat. I was called skinny, but I didn't want to call skinny. I wanted to be called fat. I longed to be hardball and thought and fight. I did everything to get fat. I drank cold liver oil, consumed vast numbers of milkshakes, 8,000 of chocolate sundaes with whipped cream and nuts, cakes, pies, innumerable. But they didn't affect me in the slightest. I stayed thin and lay awake night thinking and agonizing about it. I kept on trying to get heavy until I was about 30, when all of a sudden did I get heavy? I bulked at the seams. Then I became self-conscious because I was so fat and finally had to take off 40 pounds with equal agony. I kept on trying to get heavy until I was about 30. Then I became self-conscious because I was so fat and finally had to take a 40 pounds with equal agony to get myself down to a respectable size. In the second place, to conclude this personalized visit, which I give only because it may help others by showing how this malady works, I was a minister's son and was constantly reminded of that fact. Everybody else could do everything, but if I did even the slightest little thing, you are a preacher's son. So I didn't want to be a preacher's son, for preacher's sons are supposed to be nice and namby-pamby. I wanted to be known as a hardball feller. Perhaps that is why preacher's sons get the reputation for being a little difficult, because they rebel against having to carry the banner of the church all the time. I vowed there was one thing I would never do, and that was to become a preacher. Also, I came of a family practically every member of who was a performer in public, a platform speaker, and that was the last thing I wanted to be. They used to make me get up in public to make speeches when it scared me to death, even filled me with terror. That was years ago, but the twinge of it comes to me every now and then when I walk onto a platform. I had to use every known device to develop confidence in what powers the God Lord gave me. I found the solution of this problem with the simple techniques of faith taught in the Bible. These principles are scientific and sound, can heal any personality of the pain of inferiority feelings. Their use can enable the sufferer to find and release the powers which have been inhibited by a feeling of inadequacy. Such are some of the sources of the inferiority complex which erect power barriers in our personalities. It is some emotional. Oh, it is some emotional violence done to us in childhood or the consequence of a certain circumstance or something we did to ourselves. This malady arises out of the misty past in the dim recess of our personalities. Perhaps you had an older brother who was a brilliant student. He got A's in school. And you got C's. So you reason that you were consigned to getting C's all your life. Apparently, you never realized that some of those who failed to get high grades in school have been the greatest success outside of school. Just because somebody gets an A in college doesn't make him the greatest man in the United States, because maybe his A's will stop when he gets his diploma, and the fellow who got C's in school will go on later and get the real A's in life. The greatest secret for eliminating the inferiority complex, which is on a team for deep and profound self-doubt, is to fill your mind to overflowing with faith. Develop a tremendous faith in God, and that will give you a humble yet soundly realistic faith in yourself. The acquiring of dynamic faith is accomplished by prayer, lots of prayer, by reading and mentally absorbing the Bible and practicing its faith techniques. In another chapter, I deal with specific formulas of prayer, but I want to point out here that the type of prayer that produces the quality of faith required to eliminate inferiority is of a particular nature. Surface scheming, formalistic, and perfunctory prayer is not sufficient powerful. A wonderful colored woman, a cook in the home of friends of mine in Texas, was asked how she so completely mastered her troubles. She answered that ordinary problems could be met by ordinary prayers, but that when a big trouble comes along, you have to pray deep prayers. One of my most inspiring friends was Arlov B. Andrews of Syracuse, New York, one of the best businessmen and competent spiritual experts I ever knew. He said the trouble with most prayers is that they aren't big enough. To get anywhere with faith, said he, learn to pray big prayers. God will rate you according to the size of the prayer. Doubtless he was right, for the scriptures say, according to your faith be it unto you. Matthew 9:29. So the bigger your problem, the bigger your prayer should be. Roland Hayes, the singer, quoted his grandfather to me, a man whose education was not equal to that of his grandson, but whose native wisdom was obviously sound. He said, the trouble with lot of prayer, in the end, got no suction. Drive your prayers deep into your doubts, fears, inferiorities. Pray deep, big prayers that have plenty of suction, and you will come up with powerful and vital faith. Go to a competent spiritual advisor and let him teach you how to have faith. The ability to possess and utilize faith and gain the release of power it provides our skills, unlike any skills, might be studied and practiced to gain perfection. At the conclusion of this chapter, I list in text suggestions for overcoming your inferiority pattern and for developing faith. Practice these rules diligently, and they will aid you in developing confidence in yourself by dissipating your feelings of inferiority, however deeply indeed. Oh, I forgot. At this point, however, I wish to indicate that to build a feelings of self-confidence, the practice of suggesting confidence concepts to your mind is very effective. If your mind is obsessed with thoughts of insecurity and inadequacy, it is, of course, due to the fact that such ideas have dominated your thinking over a long period of time. If your mind is obsessed with thought of insecurity and inadequacy, it is of course due to the fact that such ideas have dominated your thinking over a long period of time. Another and more positive pattern of ideas must be given the mind, and that is accomplished by repetitive suggestion of confidence ideas. In the busy activities of daily existence, thought disciplining is required if you are to be re-educate the mind and make of it a power producing plant. It is possible, even in the midst of your daily work, to drive confident thoughts into consciousness. Let me tell you about one man who did so by the use of a unique method. One icy winter morning, he called for me at a hotel in a Midwestern city to make me about 35 miles to another town to fill up a lecture engagement. We got into his car and started off at a rather high rate of speed on a slippery road. He was going a little faster than I thought reasonable, and I reminded him that we had plenty of time and suggested that we take it easy. Don't let my driving worry you, he replied. I used to be filled with all kinds of insecurities myself, but I got over them. I was afraid of everything. I feared an automobile trip or an airplane flight. And if any of my family went away, I worried until they returned. I always went around with a feeling that something was going to happen, and it made my life miserable. I was saturated with inferiority and lacked confidence. This state of mind reflected itself in my business, and I wasn't going very well. But he opened a wonderful plan which knocked all of these insecurity feelings out of mine. And now I live with a feeling of confidence. Let me change the page. The state of mind reflected itself in my business, and I wasn't doing very well. But I hit upon the wonderful plan which knocked all these insecurities feelings out of my mind, and now I live with a feeling of confidence, not only in myself but in life generally. This was the wonderful plan. He pointed two clips fastened on the instrument panel of the car just below the windshield hand, reaching into a glove compartment, took out a pack of small cards. He selected one and slipped it beneath the clip. It read, "If you have faith, nothing shall be impossible to you." Matthew 17:20. He removed that one, shuffled expertly through the card with one hand as he drove, selected another and placed it under the clip. This one read, "If God be for you, who can be against you?" Romans 8:31. "I'm traveling salesman," he explained, "and I drive around all day calling on my customers. I have discovered that while a man drives, he thinks all kinds of thoughts. If his pattern of thought is negative, he will think many negative thoughts during the day, and that, of course, is bad for him. But that is the way I used to be. I used to drive around all day between calls thinking fear and defeat thoughts. And essentially, that is one reason my sales were down. But since I have been using this card as I drive, committing to the words to memory, I have learned to think differently. The old insecurities that used to haunt me are just about all gone, and instead of thinking fear thoughts of defeat and ineffectiveness, I think thoughts of faith and courage. It is really wonderful the way this method has changed me. It has helped me with my business for how can one expect to make a sale if he drives up to a customer's place of business thinking he is not going to make a sale. His plan used by my friend is a very wise one. By filling his mind with affirmation of the present, support and the help of God, he had actually changed his thought process. He put an end to the domination of his long-held sense of inferiority. His potential powers were set free. We build up the feeling of insecurity or security by how we think. If in our thoughts we constantly fix attention upon sinister expectation of the event that might happen, the result will be constantly to feel insecure. And what is even more serious is a tendency to create, by the power of thought, the very condition we fear. Page 8. The salesman actually created positive results by vital thoughts of courage and confidence through the process of placing the cards before him in the car. His power, curiously inhibited by a defeat psychology, now flowed out of a personality in which creative attitude had been stimulated. Lack of self-confidence apparently is one of the great problems besetting people today. In a university, a survey was made of 600 students in psychology courses. The students were asked to state their most difficult personal problem. 75% listed lack of confidence. It can safely be assumed that the same large proportion is true of the population generally. Everywhere you encounter people who are sorry. Everywhere you encounter people who suffer from a deep sense of inadequacy and insecurity, who doubt their own powers. Deep within themselves, they mistrust their ability to meet responsibilities or to grasp opportunities. Always they are reset. Sorry, I lost my thinking. Always they are beset by the vague and sinister fear that something is not going to be quite right. They do not believe that they have it in them to be what they want to be, and so they try to make themselves content with something less than of which they are capable. Thousands upon thousands go crawling through life on their hands and knees, defeated and afraid, and in most cases such frustration of powers is unnecessary. The blows of life, the accumulation of difficulties, the multiplication of problems tend to snap energy to leave you spent and discouraged. In such a condition, the true status of your power is often obscured, and the person yields to a discouragement that is not justified by the fact. It is vitally essential to reprise your personality assets. When done in an attitude of reasonableness, this evaluation will convince you that you are less defeated than you think you are. For example, a man 50 years old of age consulted me. He was in great despondency. He revealed utter despair. He said he was all thought. He informed me that everything he had built up over his lifetime had been stripped away. Everything? I asked. Everything, he repeated. It was frustrating. I had nothing left at all. Everything is gone. There is no hope, and I'm too old to start all over again. I have lost all faith. Naturally, I felt sympathetic toward him, but it was evident that his chief trouble was the fact that dark shadows of hopelessness had entered his mind and discolored his outlook, distorting it. Behind this twisted thinking, his true power had retreated, leaving him without force. So I said, suppose we take a piece of paper and write down the values you have left. There's no use, he sighed. I haven't a single thing left. I thought I told you that. I said, let's just see anyway. Then I asked, is your wife still with you? Why, yes, of course.
and she's wonderful. We have been married for 30 years. She wouldn't leave me no matter how bad things are. Alright, let's put that down. Your wife is still with you, and she will never leave you no matter what happens. How about your children? Got any children? Yes, he replied. I have 3, and they're certainly wonderful. I have been touched by the way they have come to me and said, Dad, we love you and will stand by you. Well then, I said, that is number 2, 3 children who love you and will stand by you. Got any friends? I asked. Yes, he said, I really have some fine friends. I must admit they have been pretty decent. They have come around and said they would like to help me. But what can they do? They can't do anything. That is number 3. You have some friends who would like to help you and to hold you in esteem. How about your integrity? Have you done anything wrong? My integrity is all right, he replied. I have always tried to do the right thing and my conscience is clear. All right, I said. We will put that down as number 4, integrity. How about your health? My health is all right, he answered. I have very few sick days and I guess I'm in a pretty good shape physically. So let's put that down as number 5, good physically health. How about the United States, do you think? Is still doing business and in the land of opportunity? Yes, he said, it is the only country in the world I would want to live in. That's number 6, you live in the United States, land of opportunity, and you are glad to be here. Then I asked, how about your religious faith? Do you believe in God and that God will help you? Yes, he said, I do not think I could have gotten through this at all if I didn't have some help from God. Now I said, let's list the assets we have figured out. 1, a wonderful life, married for 30 years. 2, 3 devoted children who will stand by you. 3, friends who will help you and who hold you in esteem. 4, integrity, nothing to be ashamed of. 5, good physical health. 6, live in the United States, the greatest country in the world. 7, have religious faith. I showed you across the table at him. Take a look at that. I guess you have quite a total of assets. I thought you told me everything had been swept away. He grinned ashamedly. I guess I didn't think of those things. I never thought of it that way. Perhaps things aren't so bad at all, he said pensively. Maybe I can start all over again if I can just get some confidence. If I can get the feel of some power with me. Well, he got it, and he did start all over again. But did so only with a change in his viewpoint, his mental attitude. Faith swept away his doubt. More than enough power to overcome all these difficulties emerged from his within him. This incident illustrates a profound truth which is expressed in a very important statement made by the famous psychiatrist Dr. Carl Menninger. He said, attitudes are more important than facts. That is what's repenting until the truth grips you. Attitudes are more important than facts. Any fact facing you, however difficult, even seemless hopeless, is not so important as your attitude toward that fact. How you think about the fact may defeat you before you ever do anything about it. You may permit a fact to overwhelm you mentally before you start to deal with it, actually. On the other hand, a confident and optimistic thought pattern can modify or overcome the fact altogether. I know a man who is tremendous asset to his organization, not because of his extraordinary ability, but because of he invariably demonstrates a triumphant thought pattern, perhaps his associated view of proposition pessimistically, so he employs what he calls the vacuum cleaner method. That is, by a series of questions, he sucks the dust out of his associate's mind. He draws out their negative attitude, then quietly he suggests positive ideas concerning the proposition until the new set of attitudes gives them a new concept of the facts. They often comment upon two different facts appear when the man goes to work on them. It's the confidence attitude that makes the difference, nor does this rule out of objectivity in appraisal of facts. The inferiority complex victim sees all facts through this colored attitude. The secret of correction is simply to gain a normal view, and that is always slanted on a positive side. So if you feel that you are defeated and have lost confidence in your ability to win, sit down, take a piece of paper, and make a list. Not of the factors that are against you, but of those that are for you. If you or anybody think constantly of the force that seem to be against you, you will build them up into a power far beyond the which justify. They will assume a formidable strength which they do not actually possess. But if, on the contrary, you mentally visualize and affirm and reaffirm your assets and keep your thoughts on them, emphasizing them to the fullest extent, you will rise out of any difficulty regardless of what it may be. Your inner powers will reassert themselves and with the help of God lift you from defeat to victory. One of the most powerful concepts, one which is sure cure for lack of confidence, is the thought that God is actually with you and helping you. This is one of the simplest teachings in religion, namely that ultimately God will be your companion, will stand by you, help you, and see you through. No other idea is so powerful in developing self-confidence as this simple belief when practiced. To practice is simply affirm, God is with me, God is helping me, God is guiding me. Spend several minutes each day visualizing His presence. Then practice believing that affirmation. Go about your business on the assumption that what you have affirmed and visualize is true. Affirm it, visualize it, believe it, and it will actualize itself. The release of power with this procedure stipulates will leave you astonished. Feelings of confidence depend upon the type of thoughts that you habitually occupy your mind. Think defeat and you are bound to feel defeated, but practice thinking confidence thoughts, make it dominating habit, and you will develop such a strong sense of capacity that regardless of what difficulties arise, you will be able to overcome them. Feelings of confidence actually induce increased strength. Clergy and writer Basil King once said, "Be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid. Experience proves the truth of this. You will feel these mighty forces handing you as your increasing faith reconditions your attitude." Ralph Waldo Emerson declares a tremendous truth. They conquer who believe they can. And he added, do the things you fear, and the death of the fear is certain. Practice confidence and faith, and your fears and insecurity will soon have no power over you. Once, when Stonewall Jackson planned a daring attack, one of his generals fairly objected, saying, "I'm afraid of this, or I fear that." Putting his hand on his timorous subordinate's shoulder, Jackson said, "General, never take counsel of your fears. The secret is to fill your mind with thought of faith, confidence, and security. This will force you or expel all thought of doubt, all lack of confidence." To one man who for a long time had been haunted by insecurities and fear, I suggested that he read through the Bible, underlining in red pencil every statement in contents relative to courage and confidence. He also committed them to a memory, in effect cramming his mind full of the healthiest, happiest, most powerful thoughts in the world. This dynamic thought changed him from cringing hopelessness to a man of compelling force. The change in him in a few weeks was remarkable. From almost complete defeat, he became confident and inspiring personality. He now radiates courage and magnetism. He regained confidence in himself and is empowered by a simple process of thought conditioning. To sum up, what can you do now to build up your self-confidence? Following our 10 simple workable rules for overcoming inadequacy attitudes and learning to process things. Thousands have used these rules reporting successful results. Undertake this program and you too will build up confidence in your power. You too will have a new feeling of power. 1. Formulate and stamp inedibility on your mind on a mental picture of yourself as succeeding. Hold this picture tenaciously, never permit it to fade. Your mind will seek to level up this picture. Never think of yourself as failing. Never doubt the reality of the mental image. That is most dangerous, for the mind always tries to complete what it pictures. So always picture success, no matter how badly things seem to be going at the moment. Whenever negative thoughts concerning your personal powers come to mind, deliberately voice a positive thought to cancel it out. 3. Do not build up obstacles in your imagination. Depreciate every so-called obstacle. Minimize them. Difficulty must be studied and eventually dealt with to be eliminated, but they must be seen for only what they are. They must not be inflated by fear thoughts. 4. Do not be abstract by other people and try to copy them. Nobody can be you as effectively as you can. Remember also that most people, despite their confident appearance and demeanor, are often as scared as you are and are doubtful of themselves. 5. 10 times a day repeat these dynamic words. If God be for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. Stop reading and repeat them now, slowly and confidently. If God be for us, who can be against us? If God be for us, who can be against us? If God be for us, who can be against us? If God be for us, who can be against us? If God be for us, who can be against us? If God be for us, who can be against us? 6. Get a competent counselor to help you understand why you do what you do. Learn the origin of inferiority and self-doubt feelings, which often begin in childhood. Self-knowledge lets you cure. 7. 10 times each day practice the following affirmation, repeating it out loud if possible. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Sorry. And you have to repeat it out 10 times each day. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. 8. Make a true estimate of your own ability, then raise it 10%. Do not become egotistical, but develop a wholesome self-respect. Believe in your own God-released power. 9. Put yourself in God's hand. To do that, simply state, I am in God's hands. Then believe you are now receiving all the power you need. Feel it flowing into you. Affirm that the kingdom of God is in within you. Luke 17:21. In the form of adequate power to meet life's demand. 10. Remind yourself that God is with you and nothing can defeat you. Believe that you now receive power from Him. And that's it for all. This was chapter 1. This is bestseller, more than 5 million copies sold. The power of positive thinking. I hope you are going to sleep well tonight. I love you all. See you